It's funny how I'm getting relatively exactly what I wanted in terms of the setup for how these chapters were going to go. Like, I wanted it to be opens with Celine and Suzaku content, and then we move towards, the rematches, and then we end with what's going on with Celine and Suzaku. And it looks like that's going to be the case, mainly because I only could otherwise see it if, like, it peers over to, back to her between this next fight, because it's clear the next chapter after this is going to have to do with Mimi and Lucy. And then after that, Gray and Suzaku. But it'd be like, it would have to, like, maybe show what's going on in that fight between the Mimi fight and then the Hakune fight. But I don't really know if Machine is going to do that, just because what's going on with Celine and Suzaku leaving off on that is obviously going to be what people are really hyped for, really want to see, like, how it goes. And it looks like she's going to end it after this next move. So we'll see on that. It'll probably be, like, the next time we see them, Suzaku is, like, just, like, looking real bad, and she's going to use, like, whatever attack she plans to end him with. And maybe we can get the other members of Diablos to show up. I don't really know what they're going to do against Celine. Like, Mad Scullion and Kyria, I mean, like, they can add, somewhat formidable skills to, like, I would assume most fights, but against Celine, no. Especially not Celine now. Like, Celine actually made the moon way bigger than its, normal size just from starting to fight seriously. From just her getting ready to fight, ended up making her, ended up making the moon way bigger just based off of her own passive, like, I guess, growth and power when she was doing it. And after that point, we have, we get this chapter, which opens up with seeing over in Ermina, and we see the members of the town. We see, like, Merciful and stuff, and there's a conversation about how this is not like that. This seems like some of the townspeople are like, they think it's Merciful. No, it's Selene. So Selene is affecting Earthland from a completely different dimension. She is a complete dimension away. She's in an alternate universe to the main one, and she is causing, like, calamity around there, like, affecting the oceans and the sky and stuff. Like, she is absurdly crazy powerful. And there's some wording from Mercephobia during the chapter, and he's saying that, like, most of his power was lost, and with Alderaan, he wasn't fully awakened, where Celine's power is fully up and intact. And I don't think he means, like, literally, like, I'm guessing, it could just be a fan translation thing, because with Alderaan, I don't think it was like he wasn't fully awakened, he wasn't at full power. There was nothing from him or any of the God Seeds that said he was. I think he's referring to when Natsu beat him because, like, he was weakened down. And then with Mercephobia, he had, he had no intelligence to how he was fighting. He was way weaker than, the reality of things, because he had no skill, no tact in how he was doing it. He was just raw power attacking, and there wasn't anything really crazy to him that he was doing. Because one thing we've seen with Celine and we saw with Alderaan is, outside of just their raw abilities, like their raw strength and, like, dragon attack, they have like just kind of, like, I was just to say extra abilities. Like, obviously Alderaan had all the God Seeds. Each of the God Seeds abilities really were part of Alderaan, so they kind of count as his abilities and stuff. And, like, Celine can passively go between dimensions, and, like, she's got all these other attacks that she's busting out. So, with Mercephobia, I would gauge more towards him just not having the full capability of what he could really do, because he was under control and, pretty much just being let loose on a rampage. Because the thing is, like, we knew where he was power-wise, and Igni even commented the version we saw was not even full power at the amount of force he was using. And then when Natsu ate the fire, when Igni forced him to take that power up, we know that he ended up, like, actually fighting, because we saw, like, comparative-wise, his roar, his breath attack from that standing point, but when Igni commented on, like, how much effort he was really putting into it, versus when he actually was putting into it. Because, like, when right before he ended up, Igni came into the fray, Mercephobia pretty much just opened his mouth, breath attack. When it came to Natsu getting the power up, you saw the big charge. You saw that mass amount of water just moving up his body, like that part was all bloated, and then him just shooting out like a very large breath attack that Natsu ended up having to overcome in that form. So I don't know the full kind of like validity of how, like, the panels, at least in this chapter, in terms of Mercephobia, like talking about power wise, what like him and where he and Alderaan are at. I think it might just be a fan translation thing, because I don't think, based off of the knowledge of what he was saying, or like the knowledge of what we had, what Ignia put out there, and how, like, say Alderaan worked mechanically, that would indicate that they weren't actually at their full power. Whereas with Alderaan, we know that defeating his god seeds made him weaker, and Mercephobia just didn't have his wits to him. He didn't have any form of grasp, I would say, on his full arsenal, on like the real extent of what he could do. It was more just a rampaging animal, essentially, with a lot of power. Because there was nothing that he did that really seemed even remotely impressive in terms of like the abilities outside of like his innate dragon ones. It was like the only thing he really did, like crazy wise, is he pulled up, he pulled up the ocean and condensed it down to that big layer of water that he had overhead. I mean, actually, one thing he did that was really impressive was he undid Gray's ice make. He both turned it into water and then just straight, undid it. I thought that was actually pretty impressive now I think about it. But outside of that, there wasn't anything that crazy from him in terms of, again, like move sets besides like your base dragon attribute ones. But Mercephobia seems worried that that he doesn't know anything about where her goal is, and he's commenting like she's got all of her normal power, and he's unsure exactly like what she's going to do with it, what exactly she's planning, and where she's aiming. I really want to see like what Mishima is doing with her, because he clearly, like, we don't know exactly the full extent of what he's going to do with Ignia and Viernes, but it's very clear that, just comparing Celine, Alderaan, and Mercephobia, Mishima definitely has more, like, he's got way more time and effort put into Celine, and she's gonna have like a bigger amount of content in this arc than the other two like definitely had. Back to the fight, she just she immediately opens with an attack on Suzaku. She uses attack like Moonlight Blade, and she just makes just some like crescent energy attacks, like nothing crazy, just some standard here's some energy blades I'm throwing your way. The thing about them that was crazy, well, like, there was some wording that Suzaku had, but when he just talks about their speed, this is a character that blitzed. I mean, it's base Natsu, but that's still really impressive. That's still a Spriggan level character. And Clearheart Armor Urza, who is like, she was able to react to his blade, but it was still way faster than her. It was still something that she got cut by. So he's definitely a really fast character, and he's commenting on like how fast like her attacks are, and it's not just like, oh, her attacks are fast. He's like sweating at seeing them. When she sends him out, he has the exclamation points. He's like, oh shit, and then they like start getting up to him, and he's like trying to defend, and he's sweating and commenting on like how incredibly fast they are. And then the wording he said is like, after he's dealing with them, and he says that he avoided them in time, but he still got hit. I'm curious as to like how exactly that works. If there's just like an extra ability to them, or if it's like they picked up in speed, or if they like slowed down in speed, or like, and then it kind of like manipulated them again. Like, imagine like somebody throwing something at you, and like, oh, because it's going this fast, if I move over in this direction or whatever, I can dodge it. But it's like maybe they either speed it up or slow it down just to mess with your timing, kind of thing. Or if it's something like there's more to it. There's like an attack from I won't go much into spoilers, because I try to push the Toriko agenda. But there's an attack in Toriko where it's like this guy, essentially, he has like this consumption ability, and like one of the ways he's weaponized it is with his tongue. And it's not just like if his tongue hits something, the space that it was in, like say you swung a sword and like you did a slash attack, but where your sword just was, that slash attack essentially is always going to be there, even if you can't see it. It's just almost essentially like a permanent attack within that zone until like the ability kind of wears off, sort of thing. Like, that's maybe what it is. It's something that I'm guessing we're not going to get full detail in until later on exactly this ability that Celine did, unless it's something just as simplistic as she made it faster, or she maybe made more of them in mid-attack and he didn't see. because it has been shown that she can manipulate her attacks mid-attack. Like when she used like the Moonlight Flame, and then after Suzaku cut it, she turned it into Moonlight Butterflies. The fact that's like you can mess with her attack, but just because she's already dispensed it doesn't mean that she can't just keep manipulating it until the energy's gone, kind of thing. Then he goes like using another technique, uses Underworld Cycle, and she just casually blocks it. She pretty much just puts her hand out, Moonlight Palm, and just says nope to it. Like, he is not in a good spot. Suzaku needs to run. And it was funny because I read the chapter this morning. I woke up a couple minutes before the chapter came out, just kind of like, freshly waking up, trying to get my eyes to stay open kind of thing, and then I'm like waiting for the chapter. And I was obviously very hyped reading the chapter. I mean, it's very clear that, Celine content is always something I look forward to. But I was so hyped on what she was doing. I didn't even notice Suzaku, like, that we saw his sword out until the second time I read the chapter. And it's funny because I've been mentioning for a while I really wanted to see what Suzaku's sword looked like, because I really want to see if it looked different than just like a normal katana or whatever. It actually does, because it's not just like a blade. It's got I don't know what it's called, the black portion of the blade. It's like curved, so it like that portion looks like it would go to a regular length katana, whereas the other portion of the blade, that kind of like lighter, like silver white portion, it like kind of curves over it to kind of elongate the blade, and then it has like these weird pieces along the backside of it. I think it looks really cool. I was happy about that. I mentioned for a while I've been really wanting like a really sick standout weapon within the series. Like, Fairy Tail doesn't have a lot of standout swords. Like, we have some, like Benny Zakura got beefed up a little bit extra in the anime, so that was always something that you can kind of look at. But it's like, for the most part, it's a katana. There isn't anything that crazy to it. It's not like I remember Ikaruga's katana had, like, they gave it like an extra fancy handle, like the hilt of it and pommel were just extra cool in the anime versus where in the manga it wasn't nearly as crazy. And you get like some warning from Selene after that, and she's just attacking him. There's nothing it looks like that Suzaku is doing. It doesn't look like he stands remotely even close to a chance against her. She is just completely running through him like it's nothing. And he's just like, wow, this is actually how powerful you are. He's like sweating. He's not looking good. And like I keep seeing people say that like, oh, like he hasn't used his Dragon Force yet. She might get him to use his Dragon Force. The thing is, like, one, if he uses it now, then there has to be a way to undo it, or else he's done. Because we know that with 5th gen, once they use Dragon Force, they're going to essentially be stuck going through the progress, and then when they eventually get turned into a dragon, they're a dragon. Like, the only other way they can get around that is if he managed to keep his wits, because from what we saw with Nibaru is he was like getting all like loop minded, like he was just completely, it looked like he was stoned, like he was just on some crazy drugs, like he was just losing his mind entirely. So if that happened to Suzaku, he would have to like regain his wits and then learn how to transform between forms as like dragon form and human form. So I don't really see that happening right now. And on top of that, I don't think he'll break the rule of his guild that was put into place about like not turning into their dragon forms, or sorry, not using Dragon Force, because obviously it leads to their dragon forms. But we know that he has like clearly a firm care for members of his guild, so he does care about his members of his guild and his guild itself. I don't think he's just going to carelessly break the rules. We would have to get something like a statement of like when Georg would be okay with them doing it, but at the same time, if he tried to use it, I think that would be too quick into setting his character up to kind of have like an out, because it would either have to be a way to cancel it partway in, like what Irene did, and kind of just like zeroing out its magic, or like I said, like he would have to regain his wits after turning into a dragon and then finding out when to transform back between the forms. Otherwise, like his character's probably done. I think the better option would be for the other members of Diablos to show up and help him, and then they flee. Like, I don't think that they can take her by themselves. I think it's going to have to be a large group effort. The main cast, I think that the Diablos crew is going to have to be involved. I think they're going to have to get Irene a body back, and maybe even pull in people from Earthland. Bring over, like, Jalal, Laxus, maybe Sting and Rogue, Guild Arts, like, people like that. You have to bring in a lot of heavy hitters, because it's very clear that Celine is way more formidable than probably I would have I think people would have guessed going into this arc after seeing how crazy she is, like power level wise. On top of that, like clearly not fully mentally stable. Like she's definitely got a little bit of craziness to her. But I really like how she was talking about like your sword techniques. Like it gives me some nostalgia. It makes me think I'm fighting Kuranugi himself. But she's like, but that doesn't matter. I'm gonna finish this off with this next attack, and that's why I think they're gonna have to show up. Like the Diablos members are gonna have to show up and help him, because like if she's planning to use an attack that will end the fight from her perspective, like she thinks this is gonna be the thing to end it right here. I don't even think his Dragon Force would really matter, because one, it still takes time for it to take progress, but I don't think she's gonna give him the amount of time. And really, what would Dragon Force even really do? Because like even if he used it, turned into a dragon, she just teleports him away. Like, and on top of that, like I don't think the power up he would get would be even closely, like it wouldn't even remotely give him the boost to make him capable of defeating any of the Dragon Gods. I don't think he'd be able to really handle Celine. And Celine's not even fighting fully seriously. This is like Celine just starting to actually fight. This would be like if you were like the idea of like taking off the kid gloves. She's now just starting to really kind of like, get the stretch out, throw some hands, maybe take her shoes off and relax getting into a fight. I do not believe that she's even remotely close to her max. We're going to not even see that for a while, I would guess. Like she's not even in her dragon form. But after that point, we get back to the Whiteout Village. And we have the match set up. We got Mimi versus Lucy, Hakune versus Gray. With Gray, I really want to see how that one goes. I think personally, when it comes to Lucy and Mimi, I want to see how that fight, plays out, because I want Lucy to get the W. I want her to see her get her spot back, especially after like now she's the only one with like firm grasping on her transcendent magic. Like she can go into her Stardust mixes and then seemingly keep them for a while. She's got all these different spirits she can spam. At the same time, she can swap. We've even seen this chapter. She's going between Stardresses like it's no problem. Her fight, it's more over like how she wins one. Is she gonna like come up with a new form? Is she gonna come up with a new spell? I'm really wanting to see something cool with Lucy. Like I'm trying to think about it, because like we know that Taurus is physical strength spirit, and then in that form she gets more physical strength. What would be like the best combo of Lucy like with Taurus against against Mimi? I'm thinking maybe like Taurus and who would be really cool to combine with her with Taurus in this? Maybe Sagittarius or Leo. I think would be the coolest. I know Leo has already had like his whole Stardust mix with Virgo. Something like that I think would be really cool. Just like really powerful light punches. I guess that would pretty much just make her sting though. It's just like it essentially just gives her really powerful melee light attacks. Maybe something like that. Maybe give it like Taurus and Gemini or something like that. Actually, that would work, because then you could have like her use Gemini, copy Mimi's abilities, but also get her physical strength. And I know she's got spiritual arts and stuff, but I would assume got somewhat magical based abilities. Like besides that, kind of like a secondary power source. Or maybe turn into somebody else. Like maybe she could, like with her transcendent magic, copy another character like in the main cast, or copy an aspect of them, or something along those lines. I don't really know. But maybe something like that. Maybe Taurus, and I'm trying to think what would be a really cool one to put with Taurus. Actually, Taurus and Aries, that'd actually be really cool, because then she'd get the physical buff, but she'd also get a defensive buff, because you would get Aries' wool. Because, you have, like, Aries' wool has, like, a level of hacks to it. I've mentioned this before. Like, it has, like, such a level of comfort. It's, like, sapping to your will to fight. Your want to fight gets kind of drained out. So I think that'd actually be really cool now that I think about it. I think that'd be really neat to have as a form. Like, Taurus and Aries. That actually, I'm putting my money on that one. I think that'd be a really sick one to have. But anyway, other than that, though, I think that she just needs to have like a good win. And I really liked how she was talking in the chapter. Like, you have Wendy, like she's busy healing, she can't join in the fight, which it's fine with me. I mean, she's got to take priorities, and these are revenge matches. The title's even called Revenge Match. I'm wondering if like the revenge match doesn't just kind of detail towards like these two in their rematches, but also maybe Maybe Celine, maybe she, like revenge match, maybe to her like wanting to get revenge for Kurtanugi. Maybe, just as like maybe a hint in there. We'll see on that. Like maybe they were close. Who knows? But Lucy's just doing her attack. She does like Lucy kick and then does like Regulus Lucy kick. She's just doing her basic kind of like enhanced melee attacks. And Mimi's just like, first one not really affecting her. Regulus Lucy kick, it's just like it's too bright. Does the Gemini form, it's just like double the kick. And that one actually puts some effect on Mimi, just kind of pushes her back a little. But I like how she's like, all you're doing is naming attacks. But wait, maybe if I put my name in the attack, she does like Mimi kick and just sends Lucy flying, and then does like Mimi hurricane and just like starts spinning at her. I really want to know what Mimi's spiritual art is. Like I want to know the description of what it does, because so far hers is the most confusing. Like Yoko, we know that she had her yokai. She has like not just summoning them, obviously integrating them into people and herself. She has flight. She has the the fake body doubles and stuff. Hakune has the ice, like diamond effect. She can make like copies of people and like seal off people's abilities. But like Mimi's, like I don't understand what Mimi's is supposed to be. So I really look forward, like before the fight's over, of just getting a description of like what her spiritual art exactly is. Because I thought it was just like enhanced body stuff, but like she's doing like a spinning attack. She's looking like Rocker right now, just spinning and rushing towards Lucy. And then Lucy goes into her Virgo form, dives down in the ground, comes up, lands a punch, just kind of like smacks her right in the gut. And doesn't seem to really do a lot of damage to Mimi, but it's just like doing like smidgens of it. It's just doing like little ticks of like if it was a video game, it'd just be like small little chunks of damage. It's not like she's getting like 10% each hit. It'd probably be like, yeah, each one is like 1 to 2%. But I really liked Lucy's wording at the end of the chapter, because Mimi's like, your movements are different. What could be possibly different? It hasn't been very long. Well, Lucy's like, after seeing Aquarius, she essentially got to see somebody very important to her again, and now she's like, even if I'm weak, I'm gonna win because everyone is with me. I really like that, because it's not a, like, as we see in the chapter, like, it's not like she's actually like, oh yeah, being around Aquarius or being around my friends just makes me more powerful. It's more of a confidence thing, because with Lucy, when she was getting beat by Mimi before, like she was very hurt by it. You could tell, like, she was crying, she was upset because she wasn't able to really fight back against her opponent, and her level of growth wasn't to where she wanted to be at. So like she was letting that really get to her. And it's funny because like there are aspects around 100 Years Quest, I gotta do a video on it at some point, that remind me of kind of like callbacks to other arcs. With Lucy, it reminds me a lot of what was going on in Sirius Island with Natsu. Like when Natsu was against Gildarts, and like he just broke down after obviously like Gildarts decided to flex on him, and Natsu felt afraid. But one of the things about his fear and whatnot was a part of being alone. He was afraid of being alone. That's why I ended up against Hades, when Hades was using Nemesis, and Natsu was the only one not afraid, because what he's afraid of is fighting alone, being in these situations alone. When he was with his friends and stuff, they were able to, like, he was able to keep fighting because he knows that they've got his back and he's got their back. So, he was able, in his mind, facing somebody stronger and somebody that just was like a big wall to them wasn't nearly as bad, because like he had people around him that helped him emotionally keep himself together and be strong. And that's even what Lucy's got here, because now after regaining with the main cast, seeing Aquarius again, she's got her confidence. She's got like the level of she's got her head in the right place, that she's able to keep going. And I like that a lot, because like it's not like she literally just kind of became so much more powerful. She's like actually smacking Mimi around. She's doing a little bit more damage. But we know that she's got a better grasp on like her magic now that it's transcendent. They all have their transcendent magic, but Lucy actually has a grasp on like the aspects of her transcendent magic, and she can just swap between her forms way quicker and easier, and it doesn't seem like nearly as much of a magic drain. So for her, like, she's just getting in a couple extra attacks so far in this chapter, whereas like now on top of that, Mimi doesn't have, like, she's not going to try and go into like her, remember when she used the summon Taurus, and Taurus was, going against Mimi, and they were trying to see if they can match him with physical strength. She knows she can in that category. What Lucy needs to do is more of be a spellcaster, because Lucy's fighting style, like, she has ways, like with her Taurus dress and stuff to do physical damage, like just melee attacks. But she's way more of a caster. She's way more of a spellcaster. So I'm hoping something like, even if she just goes into her Virgo Leo dress again, if she, uses Leon Maiden and then just does that big attack and is able to take her out, maybe like a different form, like I said, a new one. I think that would be the optimal way to really defeat her. Or if there's some way that she can, maybe even create a new spell, like make a new level Eratometria. Because we haven't seen her use that in a long time. It'd be really cool if she could use it to like a better capacity here in Elentier, and it would make a lot of sense because obviously the magic here is transcendent. Like just use a higher level to defeat her, and it'd be really cool to see that spell again after so long. Outside of that, like we have the Gray and Hakune fight. Like that one, obviously, like it's more interesting to me because I want to see what exactly Gray's transcendent magic is and how Gray's going to overcome Hakune's whole ability to like render out no magic, no curses, no spiritual arts with Diamond Effect. And like what Gray's strategy against that is going to be. Like she doesn't have the element of surprise anymore. Gray knows I have to avoid this, but it's not like that means he's automatically going to beat her. Like we don't even know how many other abilities that Hakune has besides like the two that she showed, making the ice copies of people and Diamond Effect. So that one to me is going to be more hype just because, one, I want to see what exactly Gray's transcendent magic is. I'm really hoping he gets it in his fight. Like that's the time to give it to him. Like he's going to need it, especially if it's somebody that's, way more dangerous based off his like the general abilities. Like it would have to be otherwise something like when Natsu fought against Jackal and he was just eating the explosions as soon as they went off, so like he could minimize the the explosions like to the aside minimize them. I mean, what am I doing? I'm trying to use the words that I already said. Either way, it's a really good chapter. I was really happy about this. I was happy all around on all the characters, what they're doing. Good to see Mersphobi again. We're seeing Celine, like some crazy feats and crazy just displays. Suzaku's sword. Suzaku, even though he was seeming really powerful, and like I like Suzaku, don't get me wrong, but like Suzaku was being real cocky when he was saying like, oh, defeating Celine wouldn't be much of a problem, and it's just like, I'm kind of glad he's getting humbled a little bit. That's he shouldn't be overhyping either overhyping yourself or underselling like big characters like this. Don't overhype yourself, man. Like Celine isn't random Dragon Magoo. Like she's a big opponent. You're literally in a dimension that she has control of. So I'm looking for the next chapter. Definitely hyped to see where this goes and to see what exactly Lucy and Mimi's fight is going to go down. Big things again to me are going to be how exactly Lucy is going to finish her off and what exactly Mimi's spiritual art is going to be. Like it could be something brand new. It can literally just be like a higher level of Eratometria. I'll be really happy to see that, especially because like the art. I always love seeing the spell. I think it'd be really cool to see it in a way to style. Just seeing that the big starry attack launched by Lucy, and like a higher level too, so we can maybe see it like, especially like with the night sky and the moon like is big. It'd be really cool if we could see like zoomed out and then see like this big starry space that just got affected by that attack. If so, either way, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, my friend, like, button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.